We're not underground anymore.
Cassie.
So, all right. So we're gonna record. All right. So we'll get started. Welcome everyone. This is Peace Talks, and I love that we can do this virtual. This is such an honor. Oh, look, we've got people coming in the room. We'll let a few of them get settled. Hi, I love it. We saw her in service on Sunday. What's her name? I can't remember. Just
Hi,
walked in the room.
Mirta. Hi, Mirta.
Mirta,
Oh my
yes.
gosh. Yeah.
All right, so I love it. I'm
Hi,
beaming.
Barb.
We're getting
Okay.
ready to do
Hey,
opening
Genevieve.
treatment, Merita.
Good to see you. Good to see you. I like your hair.
Go
Oh,
ahead.
yeah. Yeah,
She's
it's
trying to
different.
find a
Yeah.
place to sit. I know, isn't it different? I think of oh, Annie, Annie from the movie, the little orphan Annie.
Oh, gosh.
And then I thought about Shirley Temple,
Yeah.
you know, I
Right,
got all
right,
these little
right.
curly heads.
Right. I know.
All
It's a
right,
little
so
embarrassing.
no, it's cute. I think we're going our inner child. I keep saying that on Sundays. Hey, Jen, look who Jen joined us.
Hey,
All right, so we're
ready
gonna
to see
open with a
Mirta.
treatment. I know, isn't that
Mirta,
great? Welcome,
Mirta.
Mirta.
Want to
All right,
dance.
I know that's great. We need to have a fundraising
Mirta's like a,
dance party.
yeah,
I like that.
Mirta's
We've been
serious.
talking ideas. So, Peter, put this on the list. We're gonna have a fundraiser dance-a-thon or
You
something.
know it.
I'm all about it.
I love it.
You know
All
about it.
right.
Hi.
All right. So everybody out there in whatever land that's going to see this later, look how much fun we have at SEC. We just love each other and we want to spread this in the world. So as we start peace talks tonight, our topic is the four agreements, and we are in Dothan, and you can come there in person on 6 o'clock on Wednesday nights, and we are virtual too. So that's what the world is. We are connected at the God level, the law level, the universal power level. We don't have a name for it because each one of us expresses it so dearly and so divinely. So we're going to get to conversate over the next how many weeks in April and May on the topic of the four agreements, because when we agree with ourselves, we can start to agree with each other, and then we'll have this agreeable, peaceful world. So we'll have confidential dialogue. We might tune out on you when we do that. So always try to welcome you. We welcome you always to join us, and we give thanks for the ability to do this and be loved by each other. So let's have great dialogue, and we give thanks for everything that we are about to do, and so it is. All
Good.
right. Okay. So,
Rose is there.
Rose is there.
hey, Rose, that lady right there is busy. I just talked to Rose and now she's in the room. She was a chauffeur for her granddaughter just what, less than an hour ago. I just love it. So I love our community. So we're going to take our time going through the four agreements. I don't know if everybody's got a copy of this particular book. Does everybody have their own copy of this book? If you don't have this one, there's been times where I love it. I love it. So Jan, I love the way you read. You're gonna help me be a reader tonight because I love the way you do lunch and lessons. So I'm not gonna read all night, but I will read because I think I like being able to read through it for the people that don't have it. But this is one of those books I would go get. It's not that big. It's almost like a go-to, and I want it to be a go-to for us at SEC because there's just opportunity for us to just know the truth every day. I'm gonna see what. Well, I can't share screen. I wonder, can I share screen?
Yeah,
Um, can I?
I think so.
All right, I'm gonna try and see what it says. All right, very good, guys. Can you see a screen?
Yes.
Awesome, wonderful. Okay, great.
Mhm.
I'm going to take it back to the beginning, the four agreements. And so I can't believe it's already April 9th. I don't know where time is going, but it seems to be creeping away. But this topic, I think, is kind of sacred in the sense that we are to agree with ourselves. So that's what the book looks like. And some of you have it, some of you don't. But I did say this at the top of the recording, and anytime we get into sacred space, let's let the audience know, and we'll just tune out and thank them for joining us. But we want to keep it confidential. We do want to be considerate of each other, sacred vulnerability, and then conscious conversation, because I think this is how I've learned this teaching more than anything, more than on Sunday morning. Sunday morning, I call it a commercial, but it's really these types of environments that help this to make sense. Help me walk this, because we are in a walk of life, a philosophy of life. It's not a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night kind of deal. It's a every breathing moment, even when we're sleeping, because if what we take in during the day, we're processing at night. So these are the four agreements. And if you don't have this, and those that are out there and uh, virtual land, when you look at this, write them down. There's something about writing things down. I've got a new journal that I started today that I really like. It says, "Be the light for all to see." And I think that's what each and every one of us are. And so make sure you write these down and you practice these even before we get to them, because we're going to open with the foundational part of this, and we will take our time. If we get through it quicker than I think, that's great, but I don't want to rush through it. But these are the four agreements, and I want you to think about these every week for the rest of your life, not just today, for the rest of your life. Be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best. They really speak for themselves, but we get to, when you dialogue, you get to go deeper. And I really need to keep my word. I know that when I keep my word to myself, something really good happens. And I think that's where prayer comes from, where we keep our word. And don't take anything personally. Even, it's so easy not, that's the hardest one for me. So I really have to just pick up the book and open it to that sometimes. And don't make assumptions. I've always asked questions. So that one, no, that one never been a problem. I'm going to ask a question. And always do your best. That is measured by the individual, even if on your lowest day, if you're not really feeling that well, but you're breathing, you got up, you took a shower, you got back in bed, you ate something, you kept that body going. If that's what you can do that day, you are really doing your best that day. So, and there are other days where we're charged up and we're demonstrating and we're changing the world. We're going to vote. We're taking grandkids to soccer practice, and we're cooking, and we're in our office. We're just moving and shaking. We're planting food and all of that. So, any questions, comments, anything? Which one of these stands out to any one of you? What do you struggle with? Has anybody not been introduced to this book at all? So everybody's familiar with the four agreements. All right, very good. So which one do you struggle with? I told you mine is don't take anything personally. That one is, ooh. Which one? Any other one that anybody struggle with?
So that one's mine too, definitely.
Okay. That one's, I mean, I have to go to the book still. Any other one, always doing your best, don't make assumption. Anybody kind of assume things? I have people around me that assume a lot. They said I said this and I didn't, and I don't know why they didn't clarify it, because I'm gonna ask a question myself. So that one comes up in some of my connections, assuming.
Yeah. I have a problem with assuming. I have a
Okay.
problem with don't take anything personally. Most of these I'm having an issue with. But I try to be impeccable with my word, but sometimes that chapter clouds me up. I'm not sure if I'm totally getting that chapter, but anyway.
Mhm. All right, very good. So I'm going to read a bit, hopefully, because I really do like the way Jan does that. I thought I was just going to, I'm on this introduction, because I do want to keep it to an hour or two. I like to respect people's time, and it's about 7:10. So I think we can get in and get out and get things done and just keep it on a consistent basis. So we'll be organic and see what this one reveals itself to be. But I do want to start with the introduction. I really never read the introduction before. The first time I read it was today. I always went straight to the domestication and the dream of the planet. But there was a couple of things in there that I thought we could have good dialogue around in the introduction because he called it the smoky mirror. And I always liked that song, The Man in the Mirror, by Michael Jackson. So I think that was kind of his version of the smoky mirror. And I do want to read this quote. I forgot who it was by. It says, "A great deal of courage is necessary to challenge beliefs." So what we're about to do is challenge our beliefs again, because I still challenge mine. I have beliefs that we're going to leave it at that. So just not to read everything, and we will read the domestication and the dream of the planet part, but these are the captions that I picked out of the introduction. And the guy, just to kind of summarize what I got from it, was from eons ago. So we're ancient wisdom and new thought. And this stood out because I love seeing the stars. I can see the stars better in Dothan, Alabama than I can in Atlanta, Georgia. So he looked at the stars, gained, and he realized that it's no stars that create light, but rather that the light creates the stars. Everything is made of light, and the space in between isn't empty. And that just seemed to be such a solid statement. It says everything is God. So when it says there, the space in between isn't empty, and it says everything is God, I really never thought about it like that before, because we could think empty time, there's no God, or there's empty. When we feel a little empty, there's no God, but God is always, when we say God is always there, this is what this dream state is saying, that God is always there. Is that what you're picking up from that statement? Anybody get anything else from that? No? Okay. So the real us is pure love and pure light. I think that's what I see in people first. And I learned the hard lesson that everybody really doesn't even see their light, or their light has been darkened or dampened by something, or because each of us can have our lights darkened or dampened by something. And so he wanted to remember all the visions, because he like went into this dream state. It's almost like an out of body kind of situation if you decide to read it. And so he decided to call himself the smoky mirror, so that he would always know that what matters in the mirror is the smoke in between, and what keeps us from, maybe I didn't write that right. Let me see that. What keeps us from knowing what we are. And what I picked up from that, I think it says knowing what we are. I think we think we're separate because we're all different. We might be different ages, we might be different colors, we might be different races, we might be different backgrounds, born in different places, north, south, not even in this country. And I think the stuff in between is the stuff that separates us. That I think people will call it the nothing, but I think that's what separates us. So he says, I'm the smoky mirror because I'm looking at myself and in all of you. But we don't recognize each other because of the smoke in between us. And the smoke is the dream, and the mirror is you, the dreamer. So I think what we're about to read, when we start to read the main chapters, the ones I've always read, I've never read that before, and that was pretty deep to me. That it reminds me of God is everything, or law is everything. There's no empty space in the universe, like even in the black hole, that it's not empty. There's something in the black hole. I don't know what's there, but there's something there. Questions, comments, concerns? All right. So I love the word shifting our paradigm. Everybody knows what a paradigm is, right? Okay. Okay, so a paradigm is how we each think, and we think where we come from, not because of where, you know, the truth. We might not know what the truth is sometimes, but when we shift our paradigms, I'm gonna stop sharing for a little bit because I like seeing everybody's faces. But when we consider our paradigms, I want us to be open minded in the sense that everything is always changing, and the speed of trust is how we come together. Whatever we had from the past is a part of educating us now, and just to bring in newness. So, one of the quotes that I put out in the e-blast says, "Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see." That's by John Lennon, and that is just before we get to the domestication page. It says, "Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see." I thought that was a pretty deep line. I don't know whether that's in one of his songs or just something that he said. Anybody can translate that for me? Living is easy with eyes closed, misunderstanding all you see. Is that a song?
Field.
I
It's
didn't
from
hear.
Fields Forever.
Okay. Yeah. How would you translate that? Anybody? No? You guys are quiet tonight. What's going on over there?
I would translate it as, what gets programmed in our early life, um, is what is housed and maintained in the subconscious. So we're walking around unconscious, unconscious of what so often our motivations are. We don't even realize that what motivates us, is we have no idea. I was working with a man who has a gambling problem yesterday. He's a gambling addict, but his mother always focused on her lack of money. That's what he remembers from his childhood, and he's never connected those two things, you know. And so when we can connect those two, we stop seeing ourselves as just this dirty, rotten creep who is a gambler and can't and can't stop. But we begin to understand how that got imprinted on the brain, where it came from, and then what we can do about it, and that we're whole and complete, even though this is a part of our life. So that's
Yep.
what means to me, Niecy, but it
That's
does
deep.
not mean that to anybody else.
Correct. I got you. I got you. Because it's all unique and individual. That's one of the things I really do want to emphasize through SEC, through each one of us, any of our broadcasts. That's what brought me to a philosophy, a teaching, a spiritual movement like this, because every person is unique. Every thought is that person's thought. If you've ever we've got a musician on the online, Geneve here, and if you're in jazz, a jazz musician can just walk up on a jazz band and they just start playing. And they're doing their own thing. It might be a couple of jazz horns out there, but each jazz horn is doing its own thing, and the music is just beautiful. I mean, and you can hear everything added to it. That's what I want us to do. We have this music that each of us is so unique, we add to it, but we always have to practice so we can we're good at it. So, yes, it's very unique to you, Rose, but you add to the beauty of the music, of what we're thinking, and it makes so much sense to us, and we can feel a rhythm. So, yeah.
Um,
Yeah, okay, we can hardly hear you back there, Ron, if you're gonna speak.
I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to be, no, you're fine. Sit. No. I'll be loud. To me, that phrase goes back to what we talked about, how it's hard. It's sometimes frightening to change your paradigm. Living is easy with your eyes closed. If you don't want to grow, if you don't want to learn, if you don't have any desire to be more, living is pretty easy. All you're going to do is what everybody tells you, then life is pretty easy. All you have to do is go along to get along. And misunderstanding all you see is because you don't have any real connection to the truth, because the truth's not important. It's the way most people live, and that's one of the things I love about this book so much, is that it shows how most people live their daily lives, not seeking the higher truth, not trying to find the deeper meanings in things, but just closing their eyes and misunderstanding all. That's my opinion.
Thank you. And I think that's why the Four Agreement has those two in the middle where don't take anything personally and don't assume anything. That's to deal with what you just said with the other people, because we're supposed to focus on our walk, whether we're impeccable with our word and whether we are doing our best. And usually my emotions get kicked in when I'm assuming something, or if I by chance assume something that not my weakest one, I can, but my weakest one is taking it personally. And so that's when I'm out of my power. I might not be impeccable at that point. So yeah, yeah, I get it. The world, it's up to us to add flavor to the world, that rhythm.
Well,
Anyone else?
to
Mhm.
add to what they said, I agree with both of what they said. But in my mind, when you asked the question, I was thinking, living is easy with eyes closed. I think sometimes in our lives, we're just so busy and well, we're not working now. Peter and I aren't, but when you're working and you're in that wheel and you are doing the same thing every day. You get up, you get dressed, you go to work, you come home, eat dinner, go to bed. You're in that wheel. And I think that because of that, maybe we can have our eyes closed because we're so busy. We're so busy doing things that we're not maybe concentrating on things that like meditation,
Mhm.
having your devotional, having your spiritual time, having your time for you to reconnect. And so you've got your eyes closed to what's going on that's important, the things that are important. And misunderstanding is all you see. No, we don't see it because we're too busy. We're just too busy to see everything. I don't know. That's the way I took
I
it.
like that. I like that too. I see that. I see everybody's point of view too. I do. I do. Anyone else?
I'll add one little thing, and it's something that's really overused, but I think it kind of applies here is like stepping out of your comfort zone or thinking outside of the box. You can stay, like Jan said, you stay in your little world and you focus on what's really pertinent at the moment. But if you think bigger, like more globally or more how your behavior affects others or on a bigger level, you step outside of your comfort zone and outside of your box and you start to think it's not the easy way though. Staying in the box is the easy way, I guess is my point. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. Everybody. I love all the language that's happening. Mine is from the book that I want to write, The Noise from My Other Life. So they're saying seeing, but mine was, it was so busy. I don't think I could see everything there was to see because the kids had soccer and somebody had swimming, and I'm on a plane to Japan, and my husband's got TDY somewhere. You know, it was so I don't even know if I could see everything that was going on or the noise that was around, or you can miss things, but once it got quiet, it seems like I didn't even have to see it, I could feel it
Mm,
because I got so quiet
mhm.
that so I did miss it. And I don't even know with my eyes open. That's like he's saying
Right.
when my eyes was open, I'm looking at it, it's like, oh, that's what that was, because there was so much other stuff going on. It just didn't even register on the Richter scale, that was off until it got quiet. And it's like, it's been that off all this time. Where was I? What was I looking at? That's how I see that one for me.
Right. Makes sense.
Anyone else? Okay. So even that quote, I love that quote. That quote was like powerful. I'm like, where did he find that? So Ron told us from the song. So it's back to what everybody says. It's about kind of domestication. That word was kind of offensive the first time I heard it. It felt like what I do with my dog. You train it to sit and go to the bathroom, and so I'm like, are we that? And then it says domestication and the dream of the planet. What you are seeing and hearing right now is nothing but a dream. You are dreaming right now in this moment. You are dreaming with the brain awake. Dreaming is the main function of the mind, and the mind dreams 24 hours a day. It dreams when the brain is awake, and it also dreams when the brain is asleep. The difference is that when the brain is awake, there is a material frame that makes us perceive things in a linear way. When we go to sleep, we do not have the frame, and the dream has a tendency to change constantly. Humans are dreaming all the time. Before we were born, the humans before us created a big outside dream that we will call society's dream, or the dream of the planet. The dream of the planet is the collective dream of billions of smaller personal dreams, which together create a dream of a family, a dream of a community, a dream of a city, a dream of a country, and finally, a dream of the whole humanity. The dream of the planet includes all society rules, its belief, its laws, its religions, its different cultures, its way to be, its government, its schools, social events, and holidays. We are born with the capacity to learn how to dream, and the humans who live before us teach us how to dream the way society dreams. The outside dream has so many rules, and when a new human is born, we hook the child's attention and introduce these rules into his or her mind. The outside dream uses mom and dad and school and religion to teach us how to dream. I want to pause there for a minute. That's kind of deep, right? As soon as we get to the planet, they start indoctrinating us on how to think. They say dream, but how to think. It almost hurts my feeling to read that. I'm telling you, this domestication part bothered me. That's probably why I skipped the introduction, but I, um, I think that's why we have sociologists and therapists in our lives, and because of these
Well,
guys.
I was just
What do you
about to,
think, Rose? Go ahead, Janine.
well, I was going to say from a sociological perspective, it's kind of like, yeah, we're socialized. I mean, that's just what happens. We're socialized and programmed by so many different institutions, the family, religion, politics, economic systems, socialized into capitalism. I mean, all the things.
And the reason I think that's so important is when it comes to changing our paradigm, if we realize that's not reality, it's a dream because it's just something we've been taught. And if it's just something we've been taught, it's not real. It's just a version of reality that our parents and people surrounded us. So it's easier to give up when you realize it's no more real than anybody else's upbringing in a different country with different beliefs, with different systems. That's their dream, and it's real to them, but it's not true. It's not real because it's not spiritual. It's not ultimately connected. The eyes that are see are spiritual. And I'm sorry, I'll do that. I'll try to be good. This is my foundational belief book. This is my Bible. This is my Course of Miracles book. And so this means a lot to me.
I agree. I agree.
This book is foundational to me. I keep it by my, I have several copies of these, so I get it. Any other thoughts? Anyone? A lot came to mind for me, but I'm gonna keep it on the light side. The Lion King came up. That's one of my favorite movies, and I think about Scar in there and what he did with Simba, telling him that he killed his father. Now that's pretty traumatizing for a kid, in my opinion. And it wasn't true, according to the fact that that's not really what happened. But didn't Simba think it was true for the longest? He just, whether it was true or not, Simba thought he killed his father for a long time. So I wonder about when we say it's not true or it's not real or it's an illusion, we're still going through the physicality of as if it was true. So I think that's when being impeccable with your word. Scar was not impeccable with his word. you know, it wasn't. And look at what damage it caused. I think that's why it's the first agreement. But Simba's childhood was messed up because of it. Cinderella's childhood was messed up. Snow White, all of them had these parents or guardians or authority figures that misdirected them for whatever reason. But it still feels there's still pain there or there's still hurt there. So. The next part on page 8, I don't know, I'm not at that far, page 3, it says attention. Attention is the ability we have to discriminate and to focus only on that which we want to perceive. We can perceive millions of things simultaneously, but using our attention, we can hold whatever we want to perceive in the foreground of our mind. The adults around us hooked our attention and put information into our minds through repetition. That is the way we learned everything we know. True?
True.
Any trauma from there? Okay. And I'll read one more, and then I see that Jan is reading along, so I'm gonna want her voice to pipe up in a minute. I'm gonna try to finish this page if that's okay. By using our attention, we learned a whole reality, a whole dream. We learned how to behave in society, what to believe and what not to believe, what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, what's good, what's bad, what's beautiful, what's ugly, what's right, what is wrong. Ugh, it was all there already. All that knowledge, all those rules and concepts about how to behave in the world. Wow, we didn't have any freedom, it feels like, when I read this. That is domestication, isn't it? It's like, sit down, don't move, don't talk. I remember kids were not to be, what were we would not be seen and not heard. You had to just shut up. If you had an opinion, you better not say anything. You're gonna get in trouble. So, remember that. Any other comments before we continue reading?
I'm just going to say that I think that's a struggle for so many people to break out of some of those self-limiting or just limiting beliefs in general that we were brought up with about right and wrong and judging people. Speaking for myself, it's a lot to let go of all of that bullshit, really. But, I don't know. I just think it's a struggle, and I think there's sometimes guilt involved, and that's why we see people like Rose, I think.
Or become sociologists ourselves so we can
Right,
see what
right.
the heck is going on. 'Cause that's why I ended up being a sociologist because I could not figure this behavior thing out. And I really thought I was going to go out in the world and do it, but I wasn't as tough skinned as Rose because I would break down. I'm a crybaby. So I couldn't, it would be too hurtful to my heart. So I had to go out in IBM land and, just do facts and figures because and then I ended up doing leadership development, which is the integrity part of IBM. So I still had project management, but it let me do the integrity. We had to keep our word. If we were saying we did this product, I made sure everybody was consistent in what they were saying. So it was almost like I got to do it in another way, but it wasn't the hardship of a child that's homeless or the domestic violence situation I came out of. I don't know if I could just do that on a daily basis. So, we still get to contribute the way we get to contribute. And,
And they can speak to the sociological aspects of all of this, the cultural aspects. But I do want to share one thing. Ernie Larson, in his book, Days of Healing, Days of Joy, he says he realizes that his dad gave him the best information he had. It's just that his information was wrong.
Oh, look at the cat. Hi there. The cat is in agreement with that. Yeah. But I get that. I learned that, it's funny. I said something to somebody and that I read in a book and they said, I knew that. So what you just read in from somebody's book, I knew that because I learned to do the opposite from my childhood and things that I saw. And even when I got to IBM, I saw bosses and I didn't want to be that kind of boss. It's like, so people taught me how not to be as well, because I'm like, you are creepy, or you not nice, or that doesn't feel good. So, you learn as much as they're telling us what to do. I did learn really early what not to do because I didn't like the way it felt inside of me. And it's like, oh, I won't be that kind of boss. And then I ended up not being a boss. I ended up in training because one of the things I didn't like was having to lay people off who had families. I never wanted to do that. And you just have to. That's just a part of the role. So I never stepped into that. That's back to that soft side of me. You're affecting a whole family when you call somebody into the office and because you're downsizing and gotta go. So never wanted to do that. So um, let's keep going, and then Jan, I'm gonna let you kick in. I'm gonna read from 3 to 4, and then when that paragraph's end, I'm gonna let you start with the outside if there's no questions in between. So we're on bottom of page 3. When you were in school, you sat in a little chair and you put your attention on what the teacher was teaching. I should let you read that, Jan. You the teacher. I'm gonna let you see. I pause, rewind. It's Jan. She is the teacher. I thought that was adorable.
No, 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 no. I can't say that all of my students put their attention on what the teacher was saying.
Well, I need you to go ahead from there. That is just beautiful. So I almost started there. I wanted you to start there, but yeah, so start there at the bottom of 3. When you were.
Okay, so when you were in school, you sat in a little chair and you put your attention on what the teacher was teaching you. When you went to church, you put your attention on what the priest or the minister was telling you. It is the same dynamic with mom and dad, brothers and sisters. They were all trying to hook your attention. We also learned to hook the attention of other humans, and we develop a need for attention, which can become very competitive. Children compete for the attention of their parents, their teachers, their friends. Look at me. Look at what I'm doing. Hey, I'm here. The need for attention becomes very strong and continues into adulthood. The outside, do you want me to stop right there?
Yeah, everybody good? I think we're good. You can keep going, Jan. Thank
Okay.
you.
I will say here though,
Mhm.
talking about, what you listen to what your teacher said, your mom and your dad. And sometimes the advice they give you, I had good parents. I can't complain about my parents. I had a good home life. But, I can see little things. I wish they had done this, or I wish they hadn't done that, or I wish they told me this, or, just I could have used some more information or something. But I relied on what now I think that. I didn't think that then, because when I was a child, you listened to your parents and your teacher. And I did. I wanted to do what they wanted me to do.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
if they don't tell you what you think you should have learned, maybe it's not their fault, that they learned it from their parents. So it's handed down over the generations. So
Mhm.
I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is it seems like, we can't be too harsh on people who are just trying to do the best.
I agree. I understand that. I accept that too. If they're doing their best, Jan,
Oh, yeah.
and only they know that, only the individual knows whether they're doing their best or not, in my opinion. If that's your best, that's your best.
But I think they thought whether they were doing what was the very best thing or not, I think they thought they were. So,
Okay.
we shouldn't be too hard, if they think they're just doing what their parents said, and those parents are doing what their parents said. I mean, whether it's about religion or any other thing, they were just trying to do their best, and they made mistakes. I know I made mistakes with my kids, but you're just doing your best. And so we can't just, I don't think we can. Did somebody say something?
I heard something too, but I agree with you about that. But you made me think of a story. You guys may have heard it before, where there was four generations doing a Thanksgiving dinner, and the mom was all cutting off the ends of the turkey to put in a pan. And the daughter asked the mom, "Why do you always cut off the ends of the turkey?" She said, "Well, go ask your grandmother, because she always did it." So the daughter went and asked the grandmother, and the grandmother said, "We cut it off because we didn't have a big enough pan to put it in." So we can pass down things that we don't ask questions about, which is one of the four agreements about don't assume anything. And the mother never even knew that, because the mother never asked the question. But here, this next generation granddaughter saying, "Why do you guys do that?" And she's like, "I don't know. Go ask grandma." What if his grandma wasn't there? So it's just, what are we passing on? Just because it goes from generation to generation doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, or why are we doing this? So
It's not always the right thing to do, um, but I do think we follow with what our parents say. As we grow older, we may change course from what they taught us. But, you know, when you're young, I always tried to do what my parents said, you know, and I trusted them. And then looking back, I thought, well, I wish they had done this, or I wish they talked to me about this, or taught me about that, or whatever. But they were doing the best that they could do.
Mhm. I
And
agree. I agree. Any other comments, questions,
Well,
concerns?
both of us were raised where racism was taught and various other, um, you know, concepts of, things like that. And, you know, I think that, I think that we need to confront that as soon as we possibly can, as early as possible. I confronted it when I was about 12 or 13 years old. So, you know,
Martha, there is a water bottle that is like right in front of Rose when Rose is talking. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I've been wanting to say that, but I'm like, okay. So yeah, I agree, Rose. I get it, and I with all of you, I feel all of it. I do because it equates to everybody because there are people really doing their best out here in the world, and that's the best they can do. And we just have to honor that. And we can't be caught up in other people's stuff because we're trying to do our own best, you know. And if I'm caught up in my daughter's mess or my grandkids' mess or the neighborhood mess or the Kroger mess, you know, you be caught up in mess, 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 mess. So if I'm doing my best, you know, I try to get prayed up. I really do before I go out anymore. I'm going to do a little prayer so when I get out here, I can act like a peaceful human being out here, even if there's a little bit of chaos going on. You know, that's kind of me trying to do my best in this and putting my word out there so I can live up to it. And if I'm not going to act right, take my butt right back home and start all over again or try again tomorrow, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm owning up to my own behavior. So I
My
think that's
concept of this being a dream or a shadow is so important because when we start to get caught up in it, we could realize this isn't me. This is our interpretation of what we think is happening. We're assuming we know what the other people are doing and why they're doing it, but we don't know. And so, but by remembering it's the dream, we can choose the higher thought. We can choose love. We can choose to see, to be the mirror and to reflect what's real by not getting caught up into it because it's not real. It's our projections of what we think we see.
I keep hearing a little background noise too. You hear that? Like somebody's.
I wonder if it's me. There's people working on this building.
Oh,
I'm going to mute this.
okay,
I'll mute
okay.
it.
Yeah, well, when you talk though, we don't want you to not talk though, Barbara, if you have a comment. Okay, very good. So I guess we can keep going.
yeah,
The outside. Mhm.
the outside dream hooks our attention and teaches us what to believe, beginning with the language that we speak. Language is the code for understanding and communication between humans. Every letter, every word in each language is an agreement. We call this a page in a book. The word page is an agreement that we understand. Once we understand the code, our attention is hooked and the energy is transferred from one person to another. It was not your choice to speak English.
Mm.
You didn't choose your religion or your moral values. They were already there before you were born. We never had the opportunity to choose what to believe or what not to believe. We never chose even the smallest of these agreements. We didn't even choose our own name. As
Mm.
children, we didn't have the opportunity to choose our beliefs, but we agreed with the information that was passed to us from the dream of the planet via other humans. The only way to store information is by agreement. The outside dream may hook our attention, but if we don't agree, we don't store the information. As soon as we agree, we believe it. And this is called faith. To have faith is to believe unconditionally.
Let's pause there for a minute. That's deep. I like that. Thank you, Jan. That were we taught faith as children? Do you think? Any one of us?
I was.
Who said that? Ron? Okay. Anybody else? Okay. Go ahead, Ron, if you have more.
Family, I was raised believing that everything was always going to work out for the good. I believe that everything was, when you're going through hard times, you laughed and made jokes. You believed that everything was in divine order, only we didn't use those terms because nobody in my family was religious or went to church or anything. But we were taught that God is good and everything is working for the good. And so, yeah, I was taught amazing faith, but I wasn't taught religion.
I wasn't taught faith or religion. Nature taught me. I was in nature a lot as a baby, a child. I was on the Eastern Seaboard, so I was in Boston in the city, but we would go drive up to Canada. You didn't need a passport back then to cross the border. So I think that's probably why I have a book called Birds of a Feather or why I like nature, but I didn't know what faith was. I just believed. And so I didn't know whether faith was taught with people because people couldn't teach me. It was like kind of experienced, for lack of a better way to put it. So by the time I got to religion, it was kind of scary to me. It was like, well, what is that? The fire and the brimstone stuff, and you're going to hell, this and that. It didn't add up. So I had questions from day one about what they were talking about faith was. And that's why I think I like what we come full circle for me to is universal laws, fundamental truth. That's what I got from day one. Nature doesn't change a thing. The seasons are going to come. The snow is coming a certain time. The apples are going to be on the tree a certain time. These birds are going to be in this area a certain time. They're going to lay eggs. We can get lobsters a certain time at a certain, things were just at a certain time, a certain way, and it felt a certain, it just had this certainty about it. So that I had like a belief more than faith, although I use the word faith a lot now, but it was a belief from childhood for me. Anybody else? Faith or your family taught you or you taught yourself or something
I'll
else
try to
taught
say
you?
something real quick
Okay.
here. I think that, like what you're saying, Nisi, and what Ron was saying, I don't know if I can say this without blowing it out of proportion or saying the wrong thing, but I think a lot of families start out that way with the belief that everything is good and we're happy. And then something can come along and blow up a family, and then the kids are like on survival mode. And it's like all of that stuff that you were taught seems to float out the window. I lost a brother in Vietnam at age 11, and my family was blown to bits. And it became like a matter of survival. And, different problems occur as in the aftermath of that, coping strategies on my parents' part. And I was a teenager in high school in a new city. And I think that faith is great. And all of that, like Ron said, you're raised in this happy environment and you believe that's what your future is. But it can, for many, many families, it also gets blown up. And then kids flounder and people flounder, I think. So,
Mhm.
and it's not until almost till you're an adult that you can kind of grab onto things and regain your faith in human nature and the world and God and everything. But it
Mhm.
takes a lot. It
Mhm.
takes a lot. And I think it's really hard on children.
Mhm.
I don't know. Maybe that's off the subject,
No,
but it,
no, it's dead on, and I agree with everything. And what you made me think is that we're still children. If we're still healing from something, we're still healing that kid that got blown up at 11 years
right.
old. You know, you made me think about my kids with the divorce and my daughter getting pregnant and having my first
Sure.
grandson. That was a blow up in my
Sure.
family
Sure.
for her. Or for
Mhm.
all of them, but it's the others were in college, so they were getting their bear in there, but she was the
Right.
one at home. So it was a blow up. You're right.
And it happens probably more often than not in one form or another, you know.
Hmm.
I just
Hmm.
to indicate that life always was good for our family. We about froze to death one winter. Yeah, we had tough times, but even in our tough times, we were taught accept it. This is what's happening now, so you might as well make the best of it. So yeah, we had our share of trauma, but the faith that we were taught was that if you choose to see the good, if you choose to find the best, you choose to focus on whatever good is there, even if it's just less than that you're learning, then there's always good in even the bad, painful.
Here's, I sure would love to hear what your dream
Yes.
was, having.
Martha. Hmm.
I was just thinking as you were talking, I was just thinking about my dream, and I was separated from my mother when I was 6, and that, and I felt very alone, and so I didn't have no counselor or protector. I lived with my grandparents and my aunts, yes, but I was kind of on my own, or I felt like I was very alone. So I used to call, I remember I used to call in the moon my mom and the sun my dad.
Hmm.
I used to look at the moon and talk to the moon as it was my mom. But I don't remember being from, I was very little. I was a very positive, optimistic person. And I had a lot of faith. I think faith is what has saved me in life. Yeah. Is how I have found, when in my 50s, when everything I have done was not working, all my belief was not working for me at all. I just had to, for me, I call it prayer, but you have to help me now. I don't know how I'm going to do, I don't know that. And that's always been for me because it's always, the teacher has always come, or the place has always come for me, that I will get help and I will grow. That is my experience so far.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for promoting that, Rose, getting her to speak up. It's the first time she's been in our audience, so I didn't want to push. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. That was beautiful. This was great. So we'll pause here since it's almost 8 o'clock, and where did we stop, Jan, so I can make a note for us for next week?
I think when we come back, we'll start with the last paragraph. That's how we learn as children.
Okay, very good on page 5. All right, very good. Everybody make a note. And anybody can read further along. You can read this whole book in a day. So if you want to go ahead, but I like the pace that we're going to get through this and the conversations because it just deepens it. And it's almost like a movie when we watch it. When you watch it again, you just see something different didn't see the first time, or you get something out of it the second time, or I missed that. I've been seeing this movie for 40 years and I didn't see that. Are you kidding me? So I think that's what this book is for me because I've read it like Ron over and over and over. And I'm telling you, when I start to take something personally, I pull this book out because I'm going, down a rabbit hole that I don't want to go down. So, all right. So thank you everyone for joining tonight. Let's close with a treatment. We didn't have to go silent. Thank you, everybody. This audience who gets to see this later, you got a treat. So as we close our eyes or open them, we breathe in and out that substance that's readily available for us. We don't have to go looking for it. That's this power that gave us the opportunity to dialogue so robustly about our childhood, and we are digging deeper into our inner childhood, and as we age, we are still children of all ages in this universal power. So we know that as we shed anything that does not suit us from our childhood, we know that we're inviting newness in and making a difference in the world, because we are using that ancient wisdom, but each one of these beings on this call and beyond that's listening later has their own unique thought, that they're putting new thoughts out there in the world and changing the world. That's why we could do something like this virtually, because of new thought. So we give thanks for this opportunity to dialogue around the 4 agreements, and we're going to be impeccable with our word. We're not going to take anything personally. We're not going to assume anything, and we're going to always do our best. And we give thanks for that. And we'll see each other next week. And so it is. Amen.
And so it is.
All right. Thank you, everyone.
Good to see you
Love
guys.
you.
Take care.
Bye. Thank
Thank
you.
Good to see you again, Mirta.
Yes.
Yes.
Mirta!
And good to see you too, Barb.
Yeah, same here. Good to see you. Take care, everybody.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye, Jane. Yeah, good to see you.
Back.
Yes, I'm coming back. Can you see me now?
Oh, I'll be so excited.